Viewers, joining me now is a very special guest from United States of America, Mr. Ajay Bhutoria. He is a Democratic Party National Finance Committee member and a community leader, and also a strong supporter of President Joe Biden. So thank you so much for joining us here on CNN News 18.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, Mr. Bhutoria, this particular conversation is regarding the attacks on temple in United States of America, especially the hate crimes that have increased against the people from the Hindu community. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, then there are list of temples vandalized in California alone. There are 11 such incidents that have been reported. And in fact, you have gathered people from the Indian community. Perhaps you're the leader of the Indian Hindu community in California. And in fact, there was a delegation also which met the FBI officials, the Department of Justice officials, local police, and perhaps this issue was raised. I want to understand from you, Mr. Bhutoria, that what is the reason that such attacks, such cowardly attacks have increased on the temples, on the premises of the people from the Hindu community, and what was the response of the of the Justice Department and the police there in United States when this issue was raised before them?
Yeah, I mean, Indian community is one of the most progressive communities here in United States, contributing in every field, and we have beautiful temples out here throughout the country. And so recently, in last few months, as you mentioned, almost 11 temples, different incidents have happened. Incidents of defacing with hate messages with graffiti, and then there was vandalization, and then there was theft. Now, the theft part can be, it's uncertain that who did it, or who had stolen and broken into the temple. So police are investigating that as separately as a theft case. But the major concern where the community is concerned about, and also having trucks going around the grocery stores or around schools with message of against Hindu community or against particular community. Those are the hate messages which are rising up. So the community decided to, there's something needs to be done about it. So I was able to bring the Department of Justice and the members from law enforcement to talk about it. Community expressed their concern about rising this crime, and whether it's a Hindu community or Sikh community or Jain community, people of India, they are very living together. And I want to point out that the Sikh community is one of the most service-oriented community, which comes out even there's an issue, they comes out to serve the community same way as the Hindus does. I mean, so they live in very peace and harmony. But there are certain radical elements which represent a divisive nature of force, without naming the the groups and things. But those are the groups which have been causing this. So the community wanted to highlight this to the law enforcement, that it's not just hate messages and you just ignore them, but there's a bigger reason and bigger political terror message was trying to terrorize the community. And so it was an educational effort to educate the different police departments and chiefs, and also educate them about this issue, which is tied back to the home country. So something which happens in India, then there is a repercussion happening here, and then the community over here has to face. The members told that their kids are afraid of going to the temple. They do not want to go to the temple on big festival days and things, etc. And this was like an eye opener.
But who do you? I'm sorry to intervene, Mr. Bhutoria. But who do you think is behind such campaigns, such hate crimes? Do you see the involvement of separatist forces, those who are active under the garb of freedom of speech in United States, Canada? Do you see them, orchestrating such attacks and vandalism, or do you see somebody else's involvement in this, or do you find it a very planned campaign to malign the image of the Indian community, or perhaps to sort of threaten them so that they cannot push forward their religious beliefs and their culture in the American society?
Part of all of these things. So there is the community pointed out that there are this Khalistani supporters who have been causing these terror messages and maligning the community and
Yes.
going around with messages around against the certain temples and things. And then there is a bigger effort to defame the Indian community. There was a caste bill SB 403 which was brought against, saying that Indian community discriminates other based on the caste. I mean, we are not even having that issue in India, and they were trying to bring that bill. They went to California State Assembly.
Who is trying to bring that bill, and where is that bill being trying to pass?
So
Get that bill passed?
the bill was brought in by presented by one of the state senator from California. It passed the state assembly, it passed the state senate. The whole community worked very hard, and then finally, the community and I also had a chat with the governor, and the governor vetoed the bill. So it's a dead issue right now. But now and then there are efforts being made to defame and malign the Indian community at large, and also to malign the rising growth of India. India is
Yes.
growing. India is advancing. India is equal partner to United States, and India is very successful. India would be one of the largest economic country. India is one of the most powerful country in the Indo-Pacific region, counterbalancing China. And Indians are contributing almost every sector, whether it's going to the moon at the lowest cost, or whether in the field of medicine, or now advancing in semiconductors and everywhere else. So there's a global effort by certain groups funded by certain things and elements to malign India. But the community is awakened here. They cannot let this happen.
There are people like you, Mr. Bhutoria. We know that. Mr. Bhutoria, one more question. United States, time and again, especially the State Department, comes out with lot of reports on how there are human rights violation, citing the cases of human rights violation in various countries, including India, the issues of minority. Each time around, they come up with this report on an yearly basis. Now, talking about this particular, going by what is happening in whole of the region in last maybe 2 years, because of the aggression of the separatist groups, both in United States and in Canada, on the name of freedom of speech and expression, certain groups are sort of pushing ahead the terrorist agenda, the divisive agenda in the United States. Why can't the government of United States act against such groups? Why can't such people be arrested or perhaps prosecuted for their poisonous ideology, for spreading venom against the Indian Hindu community and perhaps the people from the other? Why the Biden administration is sort of not going after such groups? That is my question to you.
So first, let me tell you, India-US relationships are at one of the most strongest relationships ever. With state visit of Prime Minister Modi ji and meeting with President Biden, they have developed one of the most strongest, and they are growing in commerce, in trade, and bilateral relationship. And both countries need each other to counterbalance China. That's why the Quad, with working with Australia and Japan, is going well. And India and US are also growing their ties in defense sector, as we saw the things which came out of Prime Minister Modi ji's visit during last year. Now, coming back to your question, I did, some of our people did ask FBI this question present there, and they said, FBI said, you can quote me on this. He said that anybody who breaks the law in the United States will be fully prosecuted to the extent of the law. But then there's as you said, there's a freedom of speech. Whether people from Gaza or Palestine, they are protesting with all kind of protests, and Jewish community has seen all kind of protests for over last 50 years, anti-Semitism and hate against them. And so the freedom of speech allows people to protest, and I respect that. I mean, whether you have a divisive course or whatever course, this allows. But when you're breaking the law with hate messages, when you're trying to terrorize a particular community, when you're trying to deface, you're crossing the boundary and the law.
But so what do you have to say on the vandalism? The
No,
temples
that's exactly,
have been
that's
vandalized.
breaking the
Yes.
law, right? If
Yeah.
you're trying
Yeah.
to burn the Indian consulate in San
Yes.
Francisco
Yes. Yes.
and trying to attempt to that, that's completely vandalism, right? That's breaking the law, and that's where which evidence and details have been provided to the law enforcement agencies. And I know sometimes they are slow, sometimes they are fast, but that's being investigated, and that's what we were giving the assurance that,
And
you
Mr.
know, it
Bhutoria,
will.
what about people like Mr. Guru Patwant Singh Pannu, who sits comfortably in US and perhaps issues sermons, issues poisonous, talks poison about India, perhaps provoke the Indian crowd to take on the Indian government, or perhaps do all sorts of is involved in all sorts of naughty activities. And in fact, the government of India has provided all details to the government of United States, but no action has been taken against him till now.
There are divisive forces and divisive nature of people all around the world, whether they are in US, Canada, or any part of the other part of the world. And what I am told that anybody breaking the law in the United States will be fully prosecuted.
Okay, that is what you have to say. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhutoria, for joining us here on CNN News 18. Appreciate you for the works that you are doing, perhaps bringing the Indian community under one umbrella and raising the issues of vandalism, the temple attacks that are taking place in California, Silicon Valley, and you're raising it before the authorities in United States. Thank you so much.
Thank you.